My name is Danielle, and this is Trying Matters. If you're looking for a no BS type podcast, this is it. I'm here to help make life fun and interesting and learn right alongside you how to be brave enough to go against the grain. Here, we'll be talking about real challenges and fears that are holding us women back from living our lives to the fullest. So let's shake things up a bit and actually start trying. Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast. It is episode 15, and boy, do I have a special surprise for you guys. So, because it is episode 15 and I have been thinking about doing this for a while, we are going to change things up. And today we have an interview with my absolute best friend, Lauren. We have been friends for 9 years after meeting in the recruitment room in college. She is a pediatric speech-language pathologist specializing in feeding and swallowing and language development. She is from Pineville, Louisiana, where she just recently purchased her first home. She loves her fluffy black cat, DeMarcus, and Taylor Swift more than literally anything in the world. Y'all are going to love her story and definitely feel like throwing your fears to the wayside once we're through. We are talking making scary moves, relationships, friendships, and so many other things. So raise your glass of wine or your glass of champagne to my best friend in the entire world, Lauren. Welcome to the show. Oh my gosh. Y'all, I'm so freaking excited. My best friend is here on the podcast, so we have a little drink. This is Lauren. She is my bestie, as you guys heard in the intro. Welcome to Trying Matters.
Hi, so glad to be here.
So, she's never been on a podcast before. I've never interviewed somebody. So, we're just going to be straight up with you guys. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, but we're going to have a good time. We're going to tell stories. And we're going to have a little champs and a little wine while we do it.
I'm treating this like it's a bestie wine time FaceTime. So get ready for all of my secret stories and secrets.
Yes, which we do rather frequently whenever we remember to, because the thing, I don't even know if I mentioned this in the intro, but we don't live close together. How far away do we live from each other?
3.5 hours, depending on traffic.
Yep. So we have to do FaceTimes like regularly. But we do try to make time to come visit with each other. So all right. So I kind of want to start with how we became friends. So if you want to kind of like lead the way on the story on where our lovely friendships started.
So I was a scared little college freshman, decided to go through sorority recruitment in a place I didn't know with people I did not know. And I walked into the Find Me recruitment room on the second night, and who picked me up at the door?
Was it me?
This beautiful lady.
I picked you up?
I'm not sure if you picked me up or if you, bumped me.
I might have. I don't know. I might have picked you up. Anyway, continue.
Either way, it was love at first sight for her. I also said that. I also said that at your rehearsal tonight. Do you remember that?
I don't know. That night was a blur, and you kind of stood up there and cried. So,
wow. And we did really hit it off, and we talked again the next night, and then we were besties for a few weeks after that.
LOL. And why were we besties for only a few weeks?
Well, we went on a sorority retreat, and when we came back, you had been talking to another girly pop, and I thought you wanted her to be your little. So I gave you like a sad, dramatic look. And
A
you thought
sad,
it was
dramatic look. Oh my gosh. It was like,
Okay, that's sad dramatic for me.
If y'all are watching on YouTube, which if you aren't, like, please go check it out because the facial expressions are two very drastically different
Okay.
facial expressions. But
In my head,
she terrified me.
this is the face I made. Hmm.
Yeah, no, that it wasn't a sad face. It was like a F you. I don't want to talk to you ever again. At least from my perspective, that's what it looked like.
So we didn't talk for like 9 months, and then our
The whole baby.
boyfriends, our boyfriend,
That was a whole baby.
our
We weren't
boyfriends
friends.
at our boyfriends at the time ended up talking, and my boyfriend was like, "Oh, like, Lauren's super sad that her and Danielle aren't friends. Like, she really liked her." And your boyfriend was like, "Hold on, Danielle's really sad that her and Lauren aren't friends because she really likes her." And so they reconnected us, and then we became besties immediately again, inseparable. We said, "Fuck those guys," and look at us now,
9
thriving.
whole years later. Literally.
9 whole
So
years later.
what's crazy about that is both of us, and if y'all have listened to the podcast, y'all know I talk about the whole, like, the stories we tell ourselves. Like, Lauren was telling herself a story about what she thought was going on in my head, and I was doing the same exact thing. So, like, a whole baby went by, and we could have been friends in that time, but we weren't because both of us were making up these stories because of one event that happened. And, like,
Because of my inability to make a sad face.
yes, her inability. And you guys, so I'm going to say this for, us girls, we have this thing where, like, we make these faces and we call them RBF faces, the resting bitch face. Now, I know I do that. Now, she brings it to another level. She just, like, looks like sometimes she scares me and I'm like, oh my gosh, she hates me and she doesn't want to be my friend anymore. But 9 years later, and she still wants to be my friend. So I've had to teach myself, like, just because somebody's not super smiley all the time doesn't mean that they hate you. So, speaking of how we actually met, so we met in college, right? You, let's just jump into, like, how you've been doing scary shit from the actual start and
Yeah.
talk about college, like how it happened.
Okay. I don't really know how it happened. I was I was fully set up, like had a paid for apartment at a different college closer to home. Um, I was in a bad, like, outlived high school relationship that just didn't need to be happening anymore. I needed to get away. I decided I was going to take a risk. That's probably the first risk I've ever taken in my life. Hadn't stopped since.
We love it.
And
We love it.
moved 3 hours away where I did not know a single person. I had an aunt that lived like 45 minutes ish away from where I went to college, but that was it. And so that's why I joined a sorority, because I knew I had to meet people somehow, but it was literally like a few weeks before I graduated high school that I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to a different school, and I applied for Nichols and I got in, and I had passed all of the scholarship dates. So like my my schooling my schooling at Northwestern would have been fully paid for. I had many scholarships, but I'd passed the scholarship date, so it was literally moving 3 hours away from everything I ever knew on like a hope and a prayer. And I'm probably the best thing I've ever done in my life.
I agree with that because I found my freaking best friend through you doing that. So I'm glad you were brave. That was the first brave step you took. Absolutely love that. I wanted, which this is really where our friendship always gets so ironic to me, is I wanted to go 4 hours away for school and go to the school that she almost went to. And I ended up at Nichols as well. And we ended up meeting in the recruitment room. And if you are in a sorority or you know how, like, sororities work, like, for real, no, not like the bullshit no where you think you know what's going on, but you didn't do it, so you hate on it. None of that around here. We support Greek life. Like, there's a lot of people you meet. And then there's those few people that you really connect with. And like the fact that almost immediately, I think we both were like, nah, this is like my best friend.
Hmm.
For real, for real.
Yeah. They tell you, like, at that first big meeting that you have, they're like, you're going to walk into that room and meet the person who's going to stand next to you at your wedding. And I was like, okay.
Sure.
8 years later.
Who was standing next to me at my wedding? But you were up there.
Kneeling.
Yeah.
Kneeling. Holding the flowers
yes.
with that same resting bitch face.
Yes. Yes. Like this. A lot going on in there. But you never know what she's thinking. It's
It was all love. All love. It was, look at this beautiful wedding.
It was beautiful. What can I say? Bun flip. But again, oh gosh. Oh
That was ridiculous.
Stories
Not a bun flip.
that we may not a bun flip. Stories that we may be telling ourselves like, okay, I'm scared to go do this big move. I'm scared to go like, oh, you hear all these rumors about anybody who's going to college. I hope there's some college age girlies listening to this, but like do the scary thing and put yourself out there. I was also in that same boat as Lauren. Like I went to Nichols. Yeah, it was only 45 minutes away from home for me, but I had this whole idea of like, no more being scared. Do the scary thing because you're gypping yourself by not doing it. And I wanted to meet all the people and do all the things and have all the experiences. And if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have met my best friend. Or I maybe could have, because ironically, what happened as well when we were in school together when you decided to change your major?
Oh, you mean when you told everybody I was copying you?
I sure did. Did.
So
this was before our baby break, our 9 months of not being friends. Break. This was before.
Yeah. I went into college thinking I was going to be a math teacher. My major was just math, which everyone called me crazy for. 2 weeks in, I was also calling myself crazy for it, and somebody from the communicative disorders department came in and told us
we love irony.
Right, maybe I need a speech therapist. Told us about the field of speech language pathology and all of the great things you can do in it, and I was desperately looking for like something else to do, but I had no idea what it was going to be, and I was like, oh hey, I'll try that. And I changed my major that day. Didn't know that's what Danielle was majoring in. She told everybody I was trying to be like her. I wasn't, but that's a different story.
Now, I do have to give a little bit of background on that, because that retreat that she was talking about, she literally wrote her name all over my body in Sharpie. So I was like, this girl is obsessed. She loves me and she wants to be me. She changed her major to my major. Y'all,
Okay.
False. She did love me, I think.
Yeah, no, I did.
If not, she does now, I think.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
I'm just kidding. I do love you. But I quickly fell in love with speech therapy, and 9 years later,
here she is, an SLP. As I mentioned in her bio, she works with little kiddos, which that's what I thought I wanted to do when I first was going into the field, and boy, was that not my thing. So I'm glad you got that side of it, because I'll keep working with my adults. But
I would love to put you in a room with like some of my kids and see what you do.
And I've worked with kids before. Some of you guys may have heard me talk about it. Like I liked playing, but like I wanted to play with the toys. I didn't want to have to like work with the toys with the kid. Like I want to play blocks. I want to have to do therapy with you playing blocks.
I low-key hate when they don't pick the toy that I want to play with.
See?
I'm like,
My point exactly.
I'm trying to play Play-Doh. Why do you want to play
Literally, I
Cars
was
right now?
about to say, I was always the one that was like, you want to do Play-Doh? Because honestly, as a kid, my mom was like, nah, we ain't doing Play-Doh. It's messy. And I'm like, no, kid, you want to play Play-Doh. I didn't get to play Play-Doh as a kid. I'm not going to be that person for you.
No, I make a crazy snowman. I be rolling them balls.
Right when I go to take a sip. I love it. I love it. So continuing on your pathway of like doing the scary thing,
Mm-hmm.
so if you guys don't know, in order to be a speech therapist, a speech language pathologist, which we both are, which is also really freaking cool to have the same job as your best friend. Sometimes we have to
But
watch ourselves.
it, it also sucks because we never have a conversation that doesn't end up being like, well, I have a patient that has this, but what about this? Well, I read some research on this.
That's the part that we have to like watch ourselves because we'll like tiptoe into that. But it does come in handy when we have questions and we're like, oh shoot, like what do you think about this? What do you think about this? It's kind of cool.
Or like yesterday when I texted you and I was like, how would I evaluate for this?
Yes. And it's great. It's great. And our pathways are about to overlap because fun fact, you guys, I am going to be getting trained to work in the NICU soon. So that's a little bit more her area. So we'll have more to like bounce ideas off of each other and more to try and like keep ourselves away from at the same time.
No, it's never going to stop now. When you get with a baby, it's never going to stop.
I know. But maybe this will be a good thing because whenever I do have a child, maybe I won't have to like have you come evaluate them. I don't know what to do.
Hopefully your child doesn't need that.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I mean,
but
we'll be there if it does. But
track record says otherwise. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That's another story.
Yes, for sure. So what I was saying before we definitely got derailed, you have to get a master's degree in order to do what we do. So now let's dip into, you went 3 hours away for school. We both did school. We did a little bit of fun. How are we looking for the next step going into the pathway of becoming an SLP?
Right. So I had a lot of fun, more than just a little fun when I was an undergrad. And there was a while that I was like, I'm not going to go to grad school. I'm just going to figure out something after college. Maybe I'll teach. Maybe I'll do this. Like I didn't really care. So I fucked off and made a couple of bad grades. My GPA wasn't the best applying to grad school. Luckily, I'm a good tester. So I had good standard test scores. But I had a lot of trouble when I was applying for grad schools because some schools don't even let you submit an application if you don't have a certain GPA. So I was really limited to a couple of schools, not even a handful. And I got waitlisted to one school, and it's the one that was closest to my house. I wasn't sure I really wanted to go there, but I mean, it was my only shot. So when I got waitlisted, I emailed the director of the program and said, I need a meeting with you. And she said, okay, when can you be here? And I told her, and I made it there like that week or the next. And I remember the day I drove up from Thibodeau. So it was an hour and a half drive, but the weather was horrible. It was raining so bad. I already can't see. And I really couldn't see. I remember at one point, I knew I was in like the right hand lane, and then next thing I knew, I was on the left hand shoulder. Like, could not see. The weather was horrible, but like I made it there, made it to the school like just in time. Ran up to her office, and I sat in there, and I like I told her like why I wanted it, why I didn't have the grades at the time, how I would have the grades when I graduated, because once I realized I wanted it, when I realized I want something, like I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
I knew that by the time I graduated, I would have that GPA that was required to get into the program. I knew I had a good enough standard test score. I knew I had good references. I knew I had a good letter of intent. And she like pulled my packet and she said, like, she looked at my GPA and she was like, "Oh," and she looked at my GRE score and she said, "This is the only reason you even have a chance." And I looked at her and I said, "If you don't want to let me in this semester, that's fine. I understand. But you'll see my name on this list every year until you do." And she was like, "All right, thanks for coming and meeting with me." And 3 days later, she had sent me an email that she was sending my name for to be admitted into the program. So it was all because I took the step and advocated for myself, because if not, I would have just been a name on a list with a poor
Mm-hmm.
GPA that would have just got skipped over. Well, she didn't care about it then, so why do I think she cares about it now?
And that's crazy because I didn't realize, I don't know if we ever talked about it or maybe I just forgot, but I didn't realize that you were just kind of like, nah, I might or might not decide to go to grad school. Like
Mm-hmm.
me, I was, from the time I was like a sophomore in high school, I was like, all right, the pathway is speech language pathology. I know I have to do this and I have to do this. And this is like so linear.
Right.
So
Well,
linear.
like,
I mean,
I had gone in and changed my major and I didn't really know
yeah.
what I wanted to do. And I was like, I could do this, but I could also not do this. And so I didn't really care. And when they cut our program in undergrad and we had to
Hmm.
take all of those like big
Yeah.
nursing biologies and all of that, like I didn't care for those classes. So I felt like I made a D in AMP1 and an F in AMP2 and had to retake them both. And it really hit my GPA in college. It really, really affected me. And at that time, I was a sophomore, so I wasn't thinking about my future, like moving forward, what I was going to do, the plan for my life after college. It was right here, right now,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm doing.
Which, can we just also like normalize that? Because, okay, sophomore in college, what, you were 19, 20, if
Yep.
that?
Yep.
Like, why the hell should you know exactly what you want to do? Now, obviously, like, don't go to college and like fuck around and like waste all the money. But like,
Right.
if it's a, like, everybody talks about, you know what you want to do and get in and get out and start your career. But that, I fucking love that because you didn't know what you wanted to do, decided like spontaneously, almost like heard one talk and you're like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, like let's fucking roll with it. Then you didn't have the best of grades, you weren't thinking about the future, but then when you were ready to say like, nah, this is it, I have an option here, like, do I go in and do I vouch for myself and advocate and get what I want for the rest of my life, or do I just sit and wait? And you fucking took the fucking bull by its horns and did that shit. That's just fucking scary.
Yeah, I was, and it was horrifying. You don't realize how, like, of course, you're nervous going into it, but you walk into this big office and you sit at the table with the person who's deciding your fate. Like, am I going to grad school,
Yeah, like your future.
or will I have to find a job and take more classes and hope that I get in next time, hope that they see the potential in me? It and it's hard to have that conversation, and it's hard to, like, I had to sit and reflect on the negatives about myself, and I had to tell her, like, I know I didn't do well. I know that there was a time in my life that I could have done better, but I chose to do this instead. But I know I can do better, and I have done better, and I will continue to do better. And I think that's been like a pretty solid theme in my life, like consistently evolving and doing new things and finding new things and changing, and it never stops.
Yeah. I think that's I mean, we're only just a little taste of all the growth that you've had. We're going to get to more, guys, don't you worry. But like, as her best friend, I can definitely say the amount of growth that I've seen her go through from like the time I met her to graduation to getting into grad school. I was terrified for her because like we have two different mindsets, and like we operate so completely different.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm this linear pathway. Like if I don't hit the goal, I have failed. And what am I going to do? It's the end of the world. Her, she's like, how can I pivot? How can I pivot?
Yeah.
How am I going to get
How
what I
can,
want?
right. How can I make this go a good way? Maybe not the right way, because I don't think there's a right way. There's a way that you
Mm-hmm.
want things to go, but how can I make this go a good way? How can I make this better? How can I grow from it? How can I be better?
Absolutely. Freaking absolutely. So, and there's a link to this that I'm going to get to after a while, but I want to keep going in the direction. So, you get through grad school. You
Yeah.
go into your first job. Let's go there.
It sucks.
Let's be so real. You have the like, isn't it so true? Like you had this whole idea. You're like, I was in school for 6 years. The dream is about to happen. I'm so excited. And then you get
Yeah.
into that first job and you're like, what the fuck?
What the fuck did I do? This is what I fought for?
It ain't always the dream. It ain't always the dream.
It's not always the dream. And it's a good first year. I learned a lot. I was able to specialize in what I wanted to specialize in. Got some really good knowledge, met some really good people, made some really good friends. But it wasn't for me. It wasn't my forever. For those of you who don't know, your first year as a speech language pathologist, you have to be supervised. I had an amazing supervisor. She was great. She helped me through everything. I did thrive. I just knew that's not, like, I was stagnant. When I got to the end of the year, I just wasn't super happy. I was fully certified, fully licensed. I should have felt better, and I didn't. And a thought that had been in my head since grad school was traveling. So when I was in grad school toward the end of my last semester, they had somebody from a travel agency come and talk to our class. And I was like, I'm going to do that because that's the thing that I do. Somebody tells me something interesting one time and I'm like, hey, that's for me. And so I decided I was going to
That's the one.
travel, and I was looking for a way out of this job. And I was like, if it's not now, it's never. So I talked to a recruiter, and we had been kind of talking on and off, like, yeah, maybe I'll do this, maybe I do this. But I ended up having like a really bad day at work, and I called her and I was like, I'm done. Like, I need to go somewhere. And she said, okay, I have this job, but, and I was like, but what? And she was like, I know you've said you want to stay in the South. You want to stay around Louisiana. And I was like, correct. It's in Oregon. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And I know you said that you never wanted to work in a school, but it's in a school. And at that point, I was just so done. Like, I needed to do something. I said, okay. And I interviewed for that job that night. And I accepted that job the next day. So I was moving to Oregon.
Literally, y'all, that's how it happened. Like one day she said, I'm tired of this job. I'm going to look into traveling. And then, like, it felt like the freaking next day, she's like,
It was.
I'm moving to Oregon. And I was like,
the next day.
what? It's like, Oregon? And in case y'all don't know this, and again, snaps, if this is you too, I'm geographically challenged. Like, I didn't know where Oregon was. I was like, I know it's far, but I didn't know how far. And this girl tells me, yeah, so I'm going to go there. What were you supposed to go there for the whole school year?
I was supposed to be there from August to June, mid-June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Y'all want to know how she got to Oregon from Louisiana? This is where the crowd goes, me, I want to know. Who wants to go to the Four Seasons Orlando? Me. She said, who wants to go to Oregon and be an SLP at a school? Me. Beep, beep. What did she do? What did you do? Tell the crowd.
I drove there.
How many
by
miles?
myself. It was over 2,000 miles. It was 36 hours. I took it in 4 days.
By herself, y'all.
By myself. I drove across 6 states, 5, 6 states to get there, including Louisiana and Oregon.
Insane. First off, I have a problem with like falling asleep. So I would have conked out and died. Literally.
The 3 hours to my house, you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
No, literally, I'm like, my butt hurts. I want to sleep. I think I have to pee, but I don't feel like stopping. Like, I don't know how.
Yeah. I did like a 10-hour day, a 12-hour day, a 13-hour day, and a 1-hour day. So like my last day, it was just like that hour from Northern California to where I was gonna be living in Oregon.
Freaking wild. In Oregon.
But Oregon effectively was the best experience. Oregon was amazing. Never in my life would I have picked up a map and been like, you know where I'll go? Oregon. But now, anytime anybody brings up Oregon, I'm like, oh, Oregon. Oregon's the best place ever. Oregon? Oh, are you talking about Oregon? Oh, do you want to go to Oregon? Oregon?
Yes. I actually do want to go to Oregon because, y'all, believe it or not, I did not go and visit while she was there because, what was that, wedding planning time?
No.
I think that was transition for job for me as well.
Yeah, you came up and saw me like when I drove up to Seattle.
That was cool, y'all. Oh my gosh, 10 out of 10. I recommend picking a random place and going with your best friend for like a weekend or longer. Girls' trips are essential, and I did not realize just how essential they were until we did that trip, and like I still dream about it.
Crazy because we had been friends for 7 years at that point. We had never been on like a vacation together, a trip together besides spring break.
Yeah.
And it was at the perfect time because, like I said, I had never wanted to be a speech therapist in a school, and that's where I was. So I was hating my job. I was far away from home, and it was the weekend of Thanksgiving. And flights were just so expensive. I couldn't justify flying home. And it worked out. You were supposed to be at a wedding that weekend that got canceled.
Y'all, that's a crazy story. We'll tell that one day.
And you weren't gonna go, and I like kind of jokingly, I had already had an Airbnb in Seattle. I was gonna go by myself, and I kind of jokingly just said like, change your flight to Seattle. And within the hour, your fiance at the time bought you a new flight to Seattle, and it was the best weekend.
And like that's super out of character for me. Like I'm not impulsive, and like I say stuff like that, but I'm always like, oh, the logistics. No, I'm not going to do it. But like that just felt right. And I'm so
we were
glad.
Like 36 hours away. We hadn't seen each other in like 4 months, which
in 2 different time zones too, which was also really challenging.
Right. I was 2 hours behind. So it was tough, and I was having a really hard time mentally because that's the longest I had ever been away from my family and my friends. And like I said, didn't love this job that I expected to be like this new, fresh, and amazing thing. So like it was the perfect time for me, like the perfect refresh that I needed to get through the rest of my time, which we said I was supposed to stay until June, and I left in December because I am not one to stay in a situation that doesn't suit me. And the situation did not suit me. From the job to the living situation, from the being so far from family, everything was not for me. And you don't realize until you're there. And I don't regret going there. Like, I loved my time there. I tried to not have regrets because everything I've been through has brought me to the place I am now, made me the person I am now. So I don't regret my time there, but it needed to be over.
Yeah. Which that is super scary because you made this decision, you did it, you owned it. You were like, "No, I'm here, like this is what I'm doing even though I don't love it." And you stuck it out for at least a time. And you still were like considerate of the people that you were working with too, which like I don't know if I could have been as considerate as you were, but you were like, "Okay, like I'm gonna end it at," what, it was like the end of the semester, right?
Yeah, I waited until winter break, so my last day was like the last day of the semester. But I had put my notice in like September, and I told them like I won't be back. I can't continue to do this. I had a crazy caseload. They weren't being like considerate of my needs. So I like ultimately it came down to I advocated for myself. You
Yet
didn't
again.
listen and give me what I needed. So I told you what I needed. You didn't give it to me. So like I'm not going to continue to, like I said, keep myself in a situation that doesn't suit me.
Yeah. Which that also takes a lot of, like you said, self-reflection. You know, I mean, you had to do that self-reflection when you were trying to get into grad school. Yet again, here you are using self-reflection. Okay, I'm not just going to stick this out for the sake of sticking it out. Like my mental health is not in a good spot. I know what I need now that I've gone. And the learning moment, a big learning moment from what it sounds like, is like I need my people to at least be within, you know, driving distance. And I need my support system, even though like you said, you would have never picked Oregon to be the place that you would go. Now you know that you love the Pacific Northwest. And
the best place.
yes, she always talks about what do you call it? P and W.
The
No,
PNW.
that is what you say. I
Yeah,
was
the
like, that sounds
Pacific
like weird.
Northwest.
Right. But like, I don't know. I feel like we saw somebody with a sweatshirt like that, but I thought it was different letters. I don't know. But so like she wouldn't have known that if she wouldn't have gone. But then she also had that learning moment too, where like, you know, I need my people. My people are what support me, and like for my mental health and for the sake of getting through, you know, tough times, like I need my people.
Right. The best part about Oregon, besides all of the beautiful views and the amazing weather, I was in Southern Oregon, so not the rainy part, was the 18 wineries within 30 minutes from my house. Cheers.
We'll take a sip
Cheers
to
to
that. Thank you. Love it. Jealous.
Every wine
And
lover's
that's why.
dream.
Literally. And then like I don't think a lot of people know that Oregon is wine country. Because everybody's always like, "Oh, Napa,
Like you think the Napa
Sonoma."
Valley.
Yep.
No, it's Oregon, baby.
Let's do it. We're gonna so y'all, we have to go to what is it, North Carolina? Is that where we're supposed to be going next?
Yeah.
Yes.
The espresso
So we gotta do North
martini
Carolina.
bar.
Yes. Oh, y'all, they have a flight. We're doing it. Don't know when. We're still trying to figure that out. But the next trip after that will probably have to be Oregon because I missed the opportunity. So
No, and Oregon was amazing. But on my way to Oregon, and I was talking to my mom about this earlier because I told my mom, like, oh, I'm going on Danielle's podcast. We're going to talk about all of these things. She said, well, remember the time that you were on the way to Oregon and I called you and I was like, well, you don't need to cry. And you were like, I've already been crying the whole time. And I had this is on my third day of driving. So I've been driving for like 10 hours already. and I was supposed to stop somewhere in like Nevada. And my dad, what we were doing was when I would get to a like point where I was planning to stop, my dad would find a hotel in that area, book the hotel, and then I was just able to like stop and check in. Like they were very much like following me, supporting me the whole way.
Oh,
And
love.
I had told him like, oh no, I can keep going, I'm fine. But I had stopped at the gas station, and gas was like $6 a gallon, which is not what it is here. And
No.
I drive a truck.
And she
So
does mean like a pickup truck, not like, oh, we call it a truck, but it's a SUV. No, a literal Ford F-150.
yes. So it has a giant tank and it drinks gas. So
Slurp, slurp.
I was like devastated because my bank account took a big hit and I had taken like 3 weeks off of work, so I hadn't been paid. And at that point, I'm like, what, 25-ish hours from home. And I remember specifically the one moment I remember on the phone with my mom. She was asking me if I ate yet. And I was like, no. And I saw a sign that there wasn't any more food for this many miles. And DeMarcus, my cat, doesn't even know where I am.
Oh my God.
Because my cat had to stay home with my parents when I traveled. But that was my biggest thing. He doesn't even know where I am. And she was like, girl, you have to calm down.
Things.
So she made my dad fly to Oregon to drive me back home. So she wouldn't have to deal with that again.
I do remember that. And didn't y'all like stop and go like snowboarding or something?
Yeah.
Forgot about that. But also, yet again, this girl is like, yeah, we're going to go hit the slopes. And everybody's like, oh, you're going to go skiing?
No, I was snowboarding.
And everybody would have assumed
never been
skiing.
snowboarding before. I did break my tailbone. Okay.
She did. But didn't everybody tell you like snowboarding's way harder? And you were like, that's the one I want to do.
Snowboard. Yeah, because some guy that I hung out with in grad school told me I couldn't do it. He was right. But
was he? Because you actually got up on the board.
I did it a couple of times for a couple of seconds.
A couple of times for a couple of seconds. That means you did it. Guess what? Fucking trying matters.
Look at
not so subtle plug. Trying matters. You're like the epitome of it.
How do you plug your podcast on your?
Girl, I do it all the time. Because it's true. So fucking true. If you're not even in the game, like you're how you gonna get to the championship? How? You gotta try.
Yeah.
Can't sit scared. Shit. I mean, you weren't scared to fuck it. Well, you might have been a little scared, but you like buried that down and you said, nope, to Oregon we go. To snowboarding we go. I want to go skiing.
Scared of snowboarding. I wasn't scared of snowboarding. I fully thought, I knew I was gonna like kill it. Like I spent the morning in snowboarding school. I was gonna kill it.
Did they have hot cocoa?
No. We had 2-day passes. Me and my dad, to ski and snowboard for 2 days.
And where was that?
This is in Park City, Utah. Yeah. We got a refund for the second day.
Oh, because tailbone.
I went down the mountain one time. I rode the west. It was still like a 24-hour drive back home, which we drove straight through. Did not stop to sleep. We drove straight through. My mom was pissed at my daddy when we got home, but we made it home.
Sorry, Tammy.
I rode the whole way home like sitting sideways.
Oh, that's so uncomfortable.
I couldn't sit down.
And then your back
It was
seat was
rough.
like loaded down with all your stuff, so it's not like you could
Oh,
like
absolutely, to the top. And all of my like on the way up to Oregon, I had vacuum sealed all of my clothes, and I used the same vacuum seals on the way home. But those bags aren't really supposed to be reusable, and I had vacuum sealed all of my stuff and packed it up. And then I ended up going on a date like my last night in Oregon, and so I had to like unvacuum seal all of my stuff to find clothes, because all I had out was the clothes that I was gonna ride home and ski in. And then I had to vacuum seal it all back up. So when we got back in my truck, like literally we packed my truck, and when we went and got in it the morning, we couldn't open my back doors because all of my vacuum seal bags had like popped at the seams. Not just like expanded, but like popped open. So when you open my door, clothes were just falling out. So when we got back home, my mom came outside to help us, and we were like, "Don't open that door."
It's gonna be an avalanche. Be like, yo, you brought the snow back with you? No, my clothes. My clothes.
And anyone who knows me knows I have too many clothes.
Literally,
and why did I bring all of them to Oregon?
Every time I go to visit her, y'all, like it's just clothes everywhere. I'm like, how do you find anything? How? How is this possible? Also,
I know where it's at.
funny thought. Can you imagine if you would have like shown up to the date in like ski clothes? You know how funny that would have been? Like, what up? This is what I wear on the reg, just in case you gotta hit the slopes. Dude would have been like, what the fuck?
We were like 15 minutes from a ski mountain,
so you could have been like, surprise! I planned the date. Screw what you want to do.
Actually, just came from skiing / snowboarding.
We're like, my makeup still looks flawless though. No ski goggle marks or anything. Okay, so you're on your way back from Oregon. Y'all stopped to ski and
snowboard.
Where were snowboard? Yes, not ski. Look at that. Brain is just going.
My dad.
Okay, so I was like kind of right. There we go. So we're on our way back home, but we were not like going back home yet.
Yeah. Well, I did go back home, and I was home for 2 weeks, and then I did another travel contract in Oklahoma. I was there for 3 months, and then I took another travel contract in Leesville, which is only an hour from home. So Oklahoma was 6 hours, and then Leesville was 1 hour. And when I was in Leesville, I actually spent the Louisiana summer in my dad's camper.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And so that was
crazy.
Also like a scary moment, because if you know Louisiana summer thunderstorms, toughing those out in the camper wasn't always the most fun.
No.
But I did it.
Yeah. I forgot that you did that. Oh my gosh, how did I forget that?
I don't know.
Like wild. She lived in a camper.
So that was 3 months in a camper, and now anytime. So, like my boyfriend, his mom had the camper, and we went down south fishing with them, and she was like, I don't know how to pull the couch into a bed, and I was like, I lived in a camper. Let me help
I'm
you
actually a pro. Add it to my resume.
So, if you have any camper questions, call and hit me up.
Literally, like just casually living in a camper.
Yeah.
So you were in Leesville, like you said, like an hour away. And then next step, you ended up buying a house.
I did.
Again, y'all, out of the blue. Like she's like, I think I'm gonna buy a house. And I was like, I thought we were still doing travel. What happened here? Because if y'all don't know, like travel contracts they're like temporary. So you're only at a specific place for as long as they need you or as long as you want to be.
13 weeks.
Yeah. So like 13 weeks is what you're usually looking at. So you're hopping around. So I was like, all right, she's traveling, like this is what she's doing. And then she's like, oh, I'm gonna buy a house like in my hometown. And I was like, huh?
So, to be fair, when you're traveling, they give you a living stipend because you're expected to like have a home that you keep at home and then you have to
Right.
live somewhere else. So in my head, buying a house didn't tie me down. It did come out of nowhere. I wasn't looking at buying a house, but me and my mom are girly pops. So we do what all the girly pops do, and we're on Zillow every day,
Yeah.
just like looking, sending
So I didn't know
houses
that was
to
a
each
thing.
other.
Somebody said that today. Or not today, yesterday. Somebody said they're like, yeah, we just sit at work and we look at houses on Zillow. Like we pick a spot. And like I think she said she was looking at the Hamptons because we were talking about the Hamptons. She's like, yeah,
Yeah,
we just were looking at the house. I was like, I need to pick up on this and start doing that because that sounds like fun.
you do. It's amazing. So me and my mom would just like send houses to each other, and it was like houses that we could never afford, or like look at this dump, or this person that we once knew lived in this house, and look what it's selling for, and
The tea,
look
the
at what
trauma.
kind of look at how they decorated this house. And there was just like this house that came up one day, and I sent it to my mom, and my mom was like, that's a good house. And I was like, it is a good house. And it's literally halfway between my mom's house and my brother's house. And my brother lives next door to my grandparents. So it's like 7, 8 minutes from everybody. And they're like, oh, we'll go look at it. No big deal. I wasn't approved for a loan. I hadn't been talking to a bank, like nothing. I came in, looked at the house, and my dad's looking around the house, and he's like, look at these windows. This house has good bones. Dad things, things dad things dads say.
Such a dad thing. And they stand there,
And
they have their arms crossed, and they're like looking,
yeah,
and they're like, mm-hmm,
yeah.
yep,
And he's like,
this is good. I don't like that. I like that. I don't that. We need to fix that, but I can do that.
right,
I got 2 hands and grit.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, that.
go, my dad, because when I bought the house, he remodeled the whole thing, new floors
Yes.
across the house, painted everything.
I love that.
Like I couldn't have done any of it without my parents. Like that's my number one, like my rock is my parents. I could have never done anything that I've done without my parents behind me. So, but when I came in this house and my parents were like, no, this is a really good house at a really good price, really close to home. I was like, well, I can't pass it up. So I put in an offer and I was like, pending financing. And typically people don't like that, but they went for it, and I was able to luckily get a loan big enough to cover the cost of the house. Got it for a little less than listing. So I was able to redo the whole thing, and make it my own. Like I said, all the floors, painted all the walls, redid everything that I needed to do. There's some things undone, like all of the like switch covers aren't back on, but it's the little
It's okay.
things, okay?
It's livable. That's what matters. And you
It's
own
livable
it.
for sure. And it's comfy, it's cozy, it's cute. And so I bought a house, and in my head that wasn't the end of travel. But unbeknownst to me, it was the end of travel. I had a friend that had taken over management of the clinic that I had worked at previously, the job that I left because I hated. And
Such a her thing. She was like, so I did this, and now I'm going to go back to it. And I'm like, what? You hated it. Why would you go back?
we're just talking, and I was like, at this point, I had grown so much over only the year that I had been traveling, but so much had happened. So much had changed. I desperately needed to be like as close to my family and friends as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I was going through a really tough time, like mentally, and I just needed to be back. I wasn't ready to be back, and that's one thing I struggled with. I wasn't ready to be done traveling. And everybody knows, like, I wasn't ready to be done traveling. So I went back to this job that I'd previously hated, and it was actually great. I loved it. And I was doing, once again, what I loved. I was in pediatric dysphagia, working with the
Swallowing, for those
kiddos.
who don't know, it's difficulty swallowing, dysphagia.
Sorry.
Fancy word. It's all good.
Feeding and swallowing babies who can't eat. My preferred population is like birth to 3 years old, and that's what I was doing. I was in love with the job that I had for about 6 months, and then things got bad. We won't get into the details, but I unfortunately had to leave, and I thought in my head I was going back to travel. I had applied for a new travel contract, and then what happened, Danielle?
Which part of this happened? Was it him?
It was him.
It was him. Oh my gosh, y'all. So, slight backstory here, okay? So, we're going to just rewind a little, how she told you guys at the beginning of the episode, like, she left her hometown and went to the school far away because she was in a bad relationship situation, needed new scenery, needed new environment. One thing that me and her had in common, we kind of jumped into relationships very quickly. Both of us did that when we both started college. She was in this like shitty relationship. I was in this shitty relationship, and we both were, y'all, it was bad because they were like kind of friends too. So it was like we could not escape the shithole of the relationships that we were in.
And it's funny because we were both like, there's so many parallels in our lives if you look at it.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
But also in theirs, like, they were but weren't in the same fraternity, and they
like they had like
were
the same
but
kind of
weren't
quirks.
going to school.
Yeah. Oh shit, I forgot about that. Call them out. They sucked.
Super big asshole.
Yes, like just verbally and emotionally abusive, like just awful men. Left a bad taste in both of our mouths. But like, so I saw her like that.
Like we do, we both went different directions with our lives after that in the dating world.
Did we? Yes. Because you didn't really do anything after that. She was just like chilling. I have
not had a boyfriend since that.
That is true. I did think about that the other day. So like she didn't do the boyfriend thing. She like kind of had like little flings, and I was, still trying to do this serial date thing, and like got out of that relationship, started dating somebody else, and then like nothing was happening after that. And then I took a hiatus. And then
I was on like a man hater spree.
Oh yeah, for sure. There was a man hater spree
for like the past 7 years of my life.
Yes, like anytime I would talk about my now husband, like when I was dating him, she was like, gross. I don't want to hear it. Love
I brought
boys,
this up
men.
The other day. Oh, I was on a bachelorette trip, and somebody couldn't open a bottle, and they were like, "Man, we need a man here." And I was like, "That's all you had to say." I suddenly have the strength to do it.
Literally, she's like, "Put me up against a man, I will be." Like superior woman, like I'll be the man,
That happened at do you remember the day of your wedding? You were trying to open a champagne bottle, and you were like, "Oh, I need a man." And I was like getting my makeup done across the room, and I was like, "No, you don't."
Wait, yes, I do remember that actually. And I think you were the one to actually get that bottle open after we had like 3 people.
You needed a man.
That's what I get.
Y'all,
I'm not entirely relying on my man, but like I do be relying on him. But I am still
it's
like,
okay, because I'm there now too.
Yeah. So after all this time of like, she had like crappy relationships, and then was like, no relationship for me. It's like at least what it looks like from the outside. You can talk about that because it's like yellow brain.
I wasn't looking for anything. I didn't want anything. In my head, like, I'm free. I'm traveling. Like, as long as I'm single, I am able to do whatever I want. I can be at my house. I don't have to be at my house. I can go on trips. I can travel for work if I want. I can go back to traveling. I don't have to be here. I can do whatever I want. I don't have anybody to answer to. And that was my thing. And you would always tell me, like, deep down, I know you want somebody. And I was like, I don't really, though, which was
always.
true.
And I was like, stop lying, because I like I told you, I'm a serial dater. Like, I love lovey-dovey and like relationships, and marriage was always the dream. And she was like, I'm not getting married. I'm gonna have a child without a man. Grr.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know you're soft and squishy on the inside. Stop that. Like that. Like,
no.
Again,
I think it's so funny because I always told my mom, like, so I just turned 27 at the end of May, so a couple of weeks ago. I started talking to this man at the end of February, like mid-end February. And I think that timing is super ironic because I have always said to everybody, if I don't have a man by the time I'm 27, I'm having a baby on my own.
I don't remember you ever saying 27, but holy crap.
Yeah, I have always my mom. Can you hear me? My AirPods just died.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Specifically to my mom, like my mom could vouch for that. I have always said, if I don't have a man that has potential for me to have a baby with by the time I turn 27, I'm looking into sperm donors. I'm having a baby by myself.
I remember that part. I just don't remember the 27 part. Oh my gosh, that is so
yeah.
Talk about ironic timing.
Yeah.
I mean, like we had this like whole like pattern of like nah, and then this like
and I was
kind of funny goal.
Like when I turned 26 and a half, I was like, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm gonna go do it.
I'm gonna be a single mother.
So like, how did he even like pop in? Like, what happened? Like, what is this? Tell the crowd.
He just appeared one day and never left. So
isn't that always how it happens? My ladies who were engaged, married, been in a really long relationship, isn't that kind of how it goes? The ones that are the one, they like show up out of the blue, you weren't expecting them, and then they don't go away.
No. So like and I think it's like partially on purpose because I've always said like, I don't really want anything. Like I was never looking for a relationship. I was never super interested in that. So like that's not the kind of person I was seeking out. So it was like dating apps and this guy here and this guy there, and like I'll hang out with you for a little bit, but I'm gonna talk to you too. And it's like bouncing back and forth because it was fun and I didn't care and it didn't matter. And especially when I was traveling, I'm gonna be here for a few months, so I can talk to you so I'm not bored while I'm here. And then I'll move on when I leave. Like, who cares?
It was so funny to me. She's like, well, let me tell you about this story and this dude. Like, this is comical to me. Like, this is entertainment. Like, all of these men, they're just entertaining for me. And I was just like, huh? But like, we're wired so differently that I was like, what do you mean it's entertainment? And some of the stories actually really were entertaining. So
Man,
I kind of started to understand.
Different podcast episode.
Yeah. Another chapter in another book.
That's one that my mom is not allowed to listen to. My mother does listen to this podcast, so
we love it. I told y'all, all ages, from high school till death. That's what we're here for.
Are you saying that my mom is old?
I knew you were gonna say that, Tammy. I don't think you're dying. I'm just saying you're in the spectrum. I fucking knew it, and I was even gonna say, not that I think you're gonna die, but I didn't want to say that. But here we are, y'all. This is the humor that I had to learn with this girl.
She'll be in the group
because I was always, yeah. She's gonna. Tammy, listen. I love you.
Isn't
And
it
you're not going anywhere.
amazing that we have a group text like me, you, and my mom?
Yeah, like
The girls.
anybody else, let me know if you, your friend, and your friend's mom all in a group message and go to concerts together, because that's a thing too. We did that.
And that was the
T-Swizzle.
best.
It was fun. Super fun.
Anyway, so this man, it's funny. He was actually my randomly assigned homecoming court escort in the 7th grade.
So funny.
And at that point, I was like, I'm in love with him. Like when I was 12.
Been there.
I remember like my mom took my phone and like made me text him like, I like you. And he probably replied and was like, thanks. Cool. Because he was like, cool kid.
Awkward teenage dating, we all recall.
Right. And obviously nothing ever came of it. And it was super weird. I do have that picture that I have pulled out since we've started.
Wait, LOL. That's funny. She still is coming to terms with the fact that she has a boyfriend, in case y'all couldn't tell. That was a little bit of a gag there.
I told him he couldn't listen to this, but he probably will and be like, what do you think?
Yeah, we love it though. Men, you are welcome here. But only to get advice and not to hate. If you're going to come here to hate, shoo fly.
Don't be a hater.
Learn.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So, I had like noticed he had started watching my Instagram stories like a few months. Mm-hmm. And I had told my other friend, I was like, LOL, guess who's suddenly watching my Instagram stories? And then he had added me on Snapchat, maybe in like December. And once again, I told my other friend, because she went to school with us, so she knows him and I both. And I was like, guess who just added me on Snapchat? That's weird. Wonder what's going on. And so I'm like waiting. And I see like he's watching my Snapchat stories. And I'm like, like the junior high girly in me is like, oh,
the junior high girly in you was probably like, yeah,
screaming.
I'm crushing.
And then,
well, I was crushing. I forgot you existed, actually.
My dad bought this like dumbass alcohol gun that you can put like any bottle of alcohol into, and like it's like a water gun. You like squirt it. And so I like put a picture on, or a video or something on my Snapchat story of him doing that, and he swiped up, and he was like, wow, that's actually pretty badass. And
dudes are so lame.
That's not how he talks, but like in my head, like
that's why I say dudes are lame. Because I've now met him, and I'm like, I can't imagine him. Yeah,
so that's badass,
bro.
And
we still love you if you actually end up listening.
Cheers to that. And then somehow he ended up coming to my house that night. And then, like, the next day, he was trying to get me, like, to come to this house. And I was just pushing it away. I was like, oh, like, what is this guy doing? I kind of had another situationship going on. Like I said, I wasn't super interested in being in a relationship or anything. But, like, he kept pushing, and he kept pushing, and he kept pushing. And I was like, whatever. And so I ended up, I was able to get out of hanging out with him that weekend because of my uncle died.
Y'all, how she describes it, I was able to get out of it.
Because my
just
uncle
wait
died.
Just wait how this tone changes. Just wait, it's fun.
So my uncle died, and I had to go to Lafayette. So I wasn't able to hang out with him. I got out of it.
R.I.P.
Sorry. Love you, Uncle John.
Pour one out.
Um,
Pour one out.
listen, Uncle John would appreciate the way the story goes. Okay?
Amen.
A jokester at
This
heart.
is for you, Uncle John.
Man. But, like, he just kept on. So, like, later in the week, I was like, whatever. I'll come over. And here's what really got me. He tried to get me to stay the night that night. And I was like, I can't stay the night. I have to go home and take my contacts out. Like, that was my excuse. I had to go home and take my contacts out. And his reply
I feel that, though.
No, his reply was, okay, you were Snapchatting me all day. You didn't think I realized you literally wore your glasses to work and went home and put your contacts in to come over here. I was like, so you're not buying my
observant
excuse? So you paid attention?
What?
Anyway, I don't think there's been like 3 whole days that we haven't seen each other since then. And it's funny because, like I said, never was looking for a relationship. And I tried and tried and tried to push this man away. And it got to the point where I was like, I like him. Damn it.
that was a thing that like she would never say, y'all. Like, oh, I like him, or like she wouldn't tell me their names. Like the dudes that she was just like having little flings with, or like she would be like chatting with, like not even ever necessarily like meet them sometimes.
They would always
she'd be
have
like, oh yeah,
nickname.
code name. Yeah.
Like their job.
And she like name dropped, and I was like, what? You name dropped? What is it? What's happening?
Like, oh, yeah.
And then she said, I like him. And I was like, what?
Yes.
You like a guy? A man?
It was
like you hated them.
It's been an adjustment for everyone.
Yes.
Like me, you, my family.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yeah, because we were so used to like the like situation that was whatever that was.
Right. And they would come and they would go.
Stepping stone.
It wouldn't matter.
Right. Like I didn't think I was gonna see this happen. But like the difference between like those things and this, like what was the thing that you were like, okay, like no, I kind of want him to stick around?
That's a really good question. Thanks for asking. I need a minute on that one. I guess I should probably have a better answer.
Doesn't always have to be complicated. It could be simple.
I don't know. It was just like, just a feeling. Like after, I get annoyed with people super easy. So I'll hang out. That's what my mom always tells me, like, everybody's gonna get on your nerves at some point. You just gotta find the one that you can deal with. So, like, I would hang out with a guy and I'd be like, oh, he's great, but he does this. Or, like, I can maybe see something happening, but I don't know if I can get past this. And it was just always something. And with him, it was never anything. And it has been a hard and complicated relationship. There are many, many, many components. Hard history. He has kids, having to like step into the role of learning to be around someone else's children, like take into account not only me and myself, but him and these tiny people who are still learning to be people. And it's not the same as like the kids that I deal with at work for 30 minutes at a time. It's like I, at some points, am the adult responsible for these children. And so like dealing with all of these things, and I don't even remember what I was saying.
What was different about him?
Oh, so like being able to take all of these components in and still not being able to say like, I have a problem with this, or, well, he does this thing that's annoying. So like when I told my mom that we were coming on this podcast, I was coming on this podcast today. I was like, and I was talking to Adam last night. That's his name. He's an Adam. When I told him last
LOL,
night.
y'all. My maiden name is Adams. So it's just really funny that she's with an
the
Adam.
irony, how everything ties in together. I
Always.
told him, and he was like, "Oh, I get to be a topic on the podcast," and I was like,
He would.
"Yeah," and he was like, "Okay, so like, is it on Apple?" And I was like, "Well, you can't listen. What if I have something bad to say about you?" And
She's
then
gonna be like, it's called trying does not account for anything ever.
And then I was telling
It's called don't try. Look it up.
I was telling my mom about it today, and I was like, and I told him like, haha, what if I have anything bad to say about him? And I was like, but I don't have anything. And she was like, huh? She was like, you've been with him for how long now, and you don't have anything bad you can say about him? And I was like, no. I mean, his shorts are on my bedroom floor. But so am I.
I was about to say, so are yours.
So no, not really.
Match made in heaven.
But like that's just kind of the thing. Like I've always like gone out of my way to pick apart these guys and say like, yeah, he's okay. And like maybe I could see something, but he has this, and this. And it was never that with him. Like as much as I tried to push it away and get rid of him, and just because like I always said, I'm not looking for anything, I'm not interested in a relationship. Like it was okay, well he came in and he does this, and this, and that's great. But nothing. But nothing. He's just here and he's great.
And any fears going from like men suck, I'm not looking for anything, and then now you're in this committed relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, so let's see. Me and the last guy broke up in 2018. So it's been 6 years since I've ever thought about like being in a relationship. And there have been like some guys who stuck around longer than others who like maybe I could see a little more with, but it's always the scary of like, what if I'm wrong? Like, what if I spend this much time on this person and I think he's perfect, and like I think that I see nothing wrong with him, but it crashes and burns. And I'm a big, in relationships specifically, or like when I'm talking to these guys, because I don't really care. It's never anything serious. We both know I'm a big self-destructor. Like, if anything good comes along, I'm like, ooh, gotta set that on fire.
A little bit.
That'll burn easy.
Occasionally.
That'll burn easy. But it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to like express myself and have feelings, but he makes it easier because every time like I try that, like I find myself like falling back into like, well, I'm mad about this, but I'm not going to tell him because he doesn't need to know, and I can keep it to myself, and it doesn't matter because I'm me and he's him. Like, he's really good about like recognizing that, pulling me back in, saying like, hey, I'm noticing this is going on. What's going on? And when I'm like, I'm not talking about it, I don't want to talk about it, he's like, okay, take your time. You don't have to talk about it right now, but we're talking about it. And honestly just gives me a safe space to be able to like work through and realize my own emotions and feelings, and then I'm able to express them to him, where before it's like I go to my mom's house and I cry about it and I tell my mom and I move on and get over it, and now I'm like, oh my god, minor inconvenience, Adam. Fix me.
Literally, like that right there. I think that is truly what makes the difference between a boy and a man.
Absolutely.
Like, the one who wants to put time and effort in, who wants to communicate with you,
Mhm.
makes you a priority. But it's also what you said about, like, I'm going to keep it to myself. I am me and
Mhm.
he is him. While there are some aspects of relationships that are super essential for that, like, for example, this is
Mhm.
my thing. Randy does not do podcasts. Like, this is my
Mhm.
thing. This is me and you hanging out.
Right.
Also, I need my friend time. He needs his friend time. He likes doing basketball. I ain't about to go play basketball unless he wants to do that one day. But like, we are separate in that regard. But when
Right.
it comes to our inner workings and us doing life together, there is no I am me and he is him,
Correct.
because we want to be involved in each other's lives and we want to create a life together.
Right.
That is exactly what you just said. Like,
Right.
and I think anybody who's kind of in some of these, as you referred to earlier, situationships, like, that's something to kind of think about. Like,
Mhm.
are these guys or girls that you were engaging with, are they putting time and effort into getting to truly know you?
Right.
Or are they just trying to, use you as some entertainment, or use you as something to keep them occupied for a time?
Mhm.
And like, as a female, if you want to do that, by all means do it.
Mhm.
It's a learning process for a lot of us. I mean, like, you just said that you had that experience. I had that experience. It helps you figure out who you are, but a lot of times women get to that point of where, like, I'm kind of done with this.
Mhm.
Like, I think I want something else,
Yeah.
before guys do.
Right.
There are some rare guys that are not like that. They are out there.
Mhm.
And we have two of them. Praise the Lord. But that's kind of the distinguishing factor is this guy putting time and effort into getting
Right.
to know you? Does he want to hear when you are like clearly pulling away? Does he want to hear what's going on? Does he want to put time into helping you talk through a situation that you had at work? Or does he just say, "Oh, that fucking sucks, like, move on"?
Yeah.
No. Like, that's not what Adam does.
Yeah.
That's not what Randy does. Like, that's the difference. So if you're a female who is like in these weird, like, I can't tell what I should spend my time on versus what I shouldn't, that's a really good piece of advice, in my opinion, to kind of think about. Like, I mean, and the thing is like you said earlier too, you're not always looking. So like, the times that you're not looking, that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you are looking, like, stop fucking around with all of the bullshit and the guys who don't want to give you the time, because that's not what you're looking for,
But
Know what you
but
want.
but but I have to play devil's
But go ahead.
advocate
Yeah.
because
Go ahead. Absolutely.
I think that every person that I've talked to, every situationship that I've been in, like I said earlier,
Mhm.
like I have no regrets. Everything I've been through has made me into the person I am today. So I don't
Absolutely.
think, like, I think that everybody who has been in my life has been in my life for a reason.
Mhm.
And I just think that, like, everything has been a stepping stone to where I'm at today. And had
Mhm.
I started talking to Adam 5 people ago, like, I wouldn't have been ready. Like, if I would have started talking to Adam
Mhm.
even a year before I had, like, I wouldn't have been ready for a relationship. Like, I was not in a good
Right.
place. It's just like perfect timing, like truly what's meant to be will be. Like everything happens
Mhm.
for a reason. It comes when it's supposed to. Don't force
Mhm.
it. And that's my biggest
That.
thing that's come with everything from jobs to traveling to relationships. Like just not forcing anything and like letting the wind truly take you where you're supposed to go. And letting life take over and you just doing what happens.
Yeah. Go with the
Not
flow.
trying to force it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. Was like the perfect little bow that you could have wrapped up on. Like, beautiful. There's
Mhm.
nothing more to say. That's that. So before we end it, I have just quick, like, I've heard somebody call this rapid fire questions, so we're gonna rapid fire. Okay. So don't think too hard on these. Just
I can't.
Okay.
Boom.
All right, here we go. First question. Best advice to someone who is in a transition point in their life?
Just go for it. I mean, go with what feels scary. If it's scary, that means it's gonna be, maybe something good. And like I said, no regrets. You go for it. The worst thing you can have is regret. And if I wouldn't have picked up and moved to Oregon, I probably always would have been like, what if I would have? What would have happened?
Mhm.
What could have been? And now I know, like, I have a new favorite place, and I have new friends that I still keep up with and still talk to. So just go for it. Go for the dreams. Shoot for the stars. Go where life takes you.
Yes. Best way to relax and unwind?
Take a bath with a bottle of wine. And
I knew
and
that
a
was
little
gonna be
kitty
it.
cat. Y'all can meet
And
him in a minute.
yeah.
I'll get him in a minute.
Yay. Okay, and then my last one. Oh, well, I have two because I forgot to ask this one earlier. Best advice to give to couples?
Couples, don't force it. Don't force it. Just let things happen. Once again, go with the flow. If you think this person is the exact opposite of me, maybe that's exactly what you need. Like I said, I am unemotional, not a communicator, and I am currently with someone who is the exact opposite, and I feel like that's like elevated me to a new place in many points in my life, not only in like my relationships, like everything in my life has helped me.
Yeah, that's really good. Oh, I love that. Okay, last one for real. Best way to hype yourself up to go do the scary shit?
Drink wine, put on your favorite music, dance in front of the mirror. I'm a big Taylor Swift girly, girl summer. So I'm a big, I put on my favorite Taylor song at the moment, which varies from day to day. Might drink a bottle of wine.
What is it today?
Today, let's go with the Albatross.
Okay.
And just like let yourself be free. Like, just know that what you're doing is making you who you are. No regrets. Just live in the moment. Be in the moment. Know that what you're about to do is the best thing ever. There are so many things that I talk about that I'm like, I did this and it was the best thing ever. And it's like, you just said something else is the best thing ever. But it's true. It's the best thing ever. Like, it helped me become who I am today. So it was the best thing ever.
Experience the experiences. I love it.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, hold on.
Well, yeah. Oh, wait. I forgot, y'all. Her baby. She's got to show us.
You picked up a pillow.
Oh.
This is my son.
He's going to bring a souvenir. Look at him.
He's running away.
Oh, he's running away. He said, I don't want to be here.
This is my son. This is DeMarcus.
Oh my gosh.
Say hey to our Ella. Hi, Ella.
Say hey to the Trying Matters podcast.
Hi, Trying Matters. Yeah. DeMarc says, trying matters. And even if your mom moves to Oregon, she'll come back. And then you'll get a new whole house to yourself.
With the whole, and a whole room, and another room.
And another one.
And a couch, and a yard, and a not new friend.
He has his own bathroom.
He does. I had to use it.
He looks mad, but he's not.
So now that we've met your baby, and we've talked about all of the scary things, we have the best advice. I have to say thank you so much for one, being my absolute best friend and always being my biggest supporter in everything that I do. I love you. You're the most perfect first guest that I could have had.
Thanks for having me.
I hope everybody who listened, if you listen to this whole thing, you rock. And you probably learned a whole lot of cool shit. So props to you too. But thanks for coming. Thanks for listening. Wherever you guys are, we're 3.5 hours away from each other. This is fucking phenomenal. We love technology. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you got a little inspiration to start taking steps towards whatever it is you've been wanting to try. If you love this episode, share it on socials and tag me. I'd love to hear how it helped you. And of course, we got to get the word out to the other women who are needing that little extra push like you and I do. Can't wait to talk to you soon.